Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of 5 Minute Fix with Mina. Thanks for tuning in. So today's fig idea is an old idea I've had about how would Abhi and Pragya have met if they lived in a normal world and not a soap opera world. And if you think about it, Purab and Bulbul being involved, Abhi and Pragya would have met because of that. So here's where our story starts. 5 minutes starts right about now. So Burab and Bulbul know each other from work. They get closer. They decide they love each other. They decide they want to get married. At some point along the way, they tell their families about each other. So in Burab's case, he tells Abhi because Abhi is the closest thing he has to a brother. And in Bulbul's case, she tells, Pragya and then her mother and Dadi and Janki Amma and Bulvi. And so everybody knows and everybody approves because Burab is a nice guy, Bulbul is a nice girl, everybody's happy about the whole situation. There is this sort of tension at the back of Sarla's mind that, Pragya is significantly older than Bulbul, 4 or 5 years older, and not getting married, and what will everyone say when her younger daughter gets married before her older daughter. But, for Sarla, she loves her children more than anything else, so she even manages to put that at the back of her mind and just accept that it's not happening right now for Pragya, but it's happening for Bulbul, and even though Bulbul is so young, Burab is a good guy, and it's all going to work out, and, the compromises that mothers have to make. Meanwhile, of course, Abhi's Dadi is sad that Abhi shows no interest in marriage, but Abhi is glad because Burab getting married is a great distraction from him having to get married. And yes, there is a bit of dark, sour feelings, sort of, somewhat, in some minds of people in Mara Mansion because Burab was supposed to marry Alia. But in this universe, because everything is rational, Abhi accepts that, Burab and Alia weren't meant to be, and Burab met Bulbul, and Bulbul was the right girl for him, and Alia will find someone who is a better match for her, or he'll find someone who's a better match for Alia. But rather than trying to force Burab and Alia to be together just because they're the closest people in his lives, he can just accept that actually Burab has made a different choice. So all of that is background, and what's really interesting about this is that the family story is interesting, but of course this is actually supposed to be about Abhi and Pragya and how they get together. So they meet as, bride's sister, groom's brother situation, and they don't necessarily interact a lot at first. It's like, Abhi doesn't think much of Pragya, like, okay, she's Burab is his best friend, Burab's girlfriend slash fiance's older sister, who is just, a mature professor, a nice girl. He doesn't think much of her. She seems, boring and straightforward and doesn't seem very much like Bulbul, but it happens, he's not super interested in the situation. She's just someone he knows in the background. Likewise, Pragya is like, yeah, okay, he might be the country's biggest rock star, but all she cares about is that he's the friend and brother of this guy who's going to marry her sister, and she's glad to know that Rockstar Abhi actually seems to be like kind of a nice guy and down to earth when he's not being a rock star, and that as a friend to Burab, he's a good guy. So she forms a good impression of him. He seems like a good and responsible guy, but she also knows that he's a celebrity, and she still doesn't really approve of the whole making money after out of step telling lies about love in his songs. So they don't have those confrontations from like in the serial, like at the beginning where Pragya told him off at a concert in front of his fans. They don't have those types of conflict moments. It's just a very, very normal, boring, straightforward, like someone that an acquaintance. But where it really starts to pick up is when they're actually doing the wedding preparations, and they have to work together to make the plans and like edit the guest list because Bulbul and Burab just really don't care about these things. Burab's busy with his company. Bulbul is also busy with her job. If she's still working with Burab, she's doing something else. Maybe she's doing her MBA. I don't know what she's doing, but they are busy, and for whatever reason, Abhi and Pragya actually have to take a lot of responsibility in arranging this wedding, as sometimes happens because they're older siblings, and older siblings do things sometimes in the story. And that's when Abhi gets to realize that Pragya is actually really smart, really funny, really sweet, really reliable, and he really likes her, and he likes that he can always count on her, and he likes that she takes responsibility, but at the same time, she doesn't make things easy for him. When she needs something from him, she follows up with him until he answers. She's persistent in that way because this whole project of her sister's wedding is very important to her, and Burab's wedding is important to him too, so he likes that there's someone equally committed on the other side. And he learns kind of secondhand, not really from Pragya directly herself, about, how it is that actually she's 4 or 5 years older than Bulbul, but she's had absolutely no success in getting married, and had these kind of rejections in her past, which he thinks is too bad, but what does it have to do with him? Like, that's life. But as the wedding gets closer, there's a lot more talk from a lot of people about, Pragya being the spinster and how she's never going to get married. And whenever Abhi hears that in the background, from, even his own relatives who are a bit judgmental, like say Taiji, or whoever he hears it from, it starts to sting him, and he doesn't realize why. And if he stopped to think about it, he would probably just think like, well, she's a nice girl, and it's not nice for people to say these things about her. But then Dadi, being ever so helpful, comes up with this idea that Abhi's cousin is actually single and might be a really good match for Pragya. And Dadi starts to talk about inviting this guy to, well, he's going to come to the wedding anyway because it's Purab's wedding and he's extended family, so to speak. And then Abhi has to deal with this whole idea that this girl that he actually really likes but never thought of in that way, she's not like any of his girlfriends in the past. He's never thought about being involved with someone like her. She's very, outside of his world, and just almost a relative, right? The sister of his best friend's to-be wife. Like, she's not someone he would ever put in the category of women to be involved with. But all of a sudden they're talking about getting her married off to someone else, and he realizes that he doesn't like that. Especially since as the wedding is drawing closer, it's like, once they finish, once the great big event happens, that's kind of done, and Abhi and Pragya won't have any reason to meet and talk to each other anymore. So this makes Abhi restless, and this is how Abhi realizes that actually, even though he's a rock star, he's completely capable of falling in love with a completely normal girl who does absolutely nothing to attract him and doesn't even really seem particularly interested in him. But because he's Abhi, he does have a lot of confidence that that they can make it work, and he thinks that he's interested in her now. He doesn't know yet if she's interested, but that is his task to find out and to see what he can do with these new feelings that he has, that he likes her and values her and doesn't want her to marry his cousin. So that was actually closer to 6 minutes. I think there was a little bit too much setup in this one. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, I know there's a lot more that could have been in the story but isn't. But here we go. These are the 5-minute fix, and see you next time for another one. Thanks.